What's going on, you guys? Welcome to the Rated Podcast. This is your host, Cristopher Zamora. Welcome to the show. So today, guys, I want to speak to you about Saw X. Yes, I did spoke about it on the last episode, but I was mostly really comparing it to The Exorcist Believer. I really didn't went in detail of the movie. I actually got to see it this week, and I gotta say, man, I liked it. It was good. I did enjoy the movie. I had to say, I had to put in my second favorite from the franchise. Saw 2 will always be my favorite movie of the franchise. Saw X, I put it as number 2. And the original Saw movie, I put it as number 3. This movie mostly showed a background story of John Kramer. It was between Saw 1 and Saw 2 where this movie takes place. So let's call this movie Saw 1.5. In this movie, John Kramer, he has brain cancer and he's just trying to find a way to survive. In this movie, he actually goes to Mexico to find a cure because a friend where he goes to recommended this doctor to him, and so he actually called the doctor, and supposedly the doctor and all the people that were working with her, they were frauds. They weren't good doctors. They weren't really helping people. The only way that John Kramer found out was right after he got the surgery in Mexico. When he was in the procedure of getting the surgery, he noticed that there was like a video playing. At first, the audience and maybe John Kramer, he thought as well that probably that was his brain and they were just doing that because that was the procedure supposedly. But no, it was just a video playing all along about a real doctor that was actually doing the procedure like step by step. They weren't really doing anything while he was knocked out. Yeah, it's just insane, man. It just goes to show that the doctors supposedly did not care about John Kramer or anybody else that went to them. They only wanted their money. Yeah, that was the crazy part. And not just only the doctors, but there was also a lady named Gabriela. She seemed like she was a nice lady and she seemed normal. But then you find out that she's also like a drug addict later in the movie, around 40 minutes or so, you get to find out that she's a drug addict. Yeah, it's just so crazy. He was fooled the whole time. He noticed this once he actually ripped the bandage off of his head. He noticed nothing really changed. And so he actually got Amanda. Amanda was one of the first people that survived John Kramer's traps. And so she actually did join him around Saw 2 or Saw 1, I believe. Now the thing is, she actually got her to get all the doctors that supposedly was going to help him. And they actually did trap them in one place that it was where the laboratory was in Mexico. But damn, the traps that they used for this movie, ooh, man, they were brutal. They were very brutal. Starting with the very first one, the one with the ice. I mentioned to you guys that I don't like things that have to do with the ice. Anything that is horror related. Oh, man. It's just so crazy just seeing that on the big screen. Oh, and by the way, and this was my very first Saw movie I saw in theaters. Dude, it was crazy. The thing about that trap is that supposedly the guy, he was a janitor. The janitor was stealing stuff from a local hospital, and John Kramer saw him. And so the thing is, this never really did happen on the movie. It was just something that John Kramer thought because the janitor actually did change his mind. But let's talk about the trap itself. The trap itself is just like it has two huge tubes like going on the eyes of somebody, and like you can't really see much. And they had to press a button for the left hand. They needed to press a button, and on the right side, there was like a machine that was attached to him. And so the thing is, he had to press the button so he can pull his fingers. If he didn't pull all his 5 fingers, then he would have died. And that's what basically did happen. He did died, and supposedly John Kramer's vision that he was thinking of. Like I said, the janitor actually changed his mind because John Kramer did tell him good choice. That's what he said. And the way that he died on that trap, it was that the little tubes that was on his eye, they sucked his eyes out, man. Like it traveled a place where they put the eyes in. Oh no, man. Just that was a lot. That was a lot. But that wasn't anything, because the rest of the other traps, they were even more brutal. Let's talk about one of the other ones. Another one was an assistant doctor, not the main doctor that supposedly did the surgery on John Kramer. I think she got probably the worst trap. Maybe. It's a big maybe. She had to use like a saw, no pun intended. She had to use like a string saw so she can actually saw her leg, her right leg. Oh man, she kept on going like that so much. Ooh man, it was just so crazy watching that, man. And the thing is, she needed to put a tube inside the leg so the blood can flow, and like she had to get like a good amount of blood on that scale. If she didn't, then you know what happens? They died. She did not make it. She was this close, man. She was so close of actually surviving this. But damn, man, that saw cut. Oof. It was insane. Crazy, man, crazy. But you guys already know why John Kramer is doing this, right? The doctors, they were fooling everybody. Like all the patients that went to them, they weren't really helping them at all. And like they did the research for all the patients that actually went to them, like Amanda and John Kramer. They actually did research on everybody that went there, and everybody has died. They left children homeless. They left children motherless or fatherless. And it's just crazy because he did not want that to happen. And so he actually got all of them on this one place. Oof, man. Now another trap that probably might be the worst one, or could be one of the top two for this movie, was the male doctor. He had to pick his brain, and he had to get some pieces out of his brain and put it on the scale. Dude, that's fucked up. It's just so crazy. Even the guy, he was like screaming, and he had to keep going. Same thing happened with him. He was close, but he died as well. The thing that was attached to him, it closed and it burned his skin. That's how that guy died. Yeesh. It seemed like those traps, they got even more brutal. But not only that, this last one, the one with Gabriela, the lady that supposedly was a nice lady to John Kramer in the movie. Supposedly her, I don't think she didn't got the worst trap, but still it's kind of bad. For her trap, she had to actually get a hammer and actually hit her hand and her leg so she can get out of the chains. Right in front of her, there was something that was burning her face, mostly her skin, and she had like a jacket on. It was like very hot, and that's why she did not make it, because that thing kept on burning her right in front of her face. She tried to get her leg out and also her hand, and she was able to. She was probably the only one that did survive the game that she had to play. The other lady, the main doctor that supposedly was gonna do the surgery on John Kramer, she will never actually did her own trap until one of the patients came in and saved her. One of the patients that was there supposedly was working with the main doctor. He never really had any cancer at all. Supposedly he had throat cancer, but he never really did. Not like John Kramer. He did had brain cancer, but this guy didn't, man. Shit, it was just so crazy. But the thing is, we kind of don't know who to root for in this, because it was like bad versus evil. Bad was the main doctor and her boyfriend, and evil, it was John Kramer and Amanda. Or it could go either way, depending on how you look at it. And the thing is, John Kramer now had to play his own trap, because the main doctor, John Kramer, had to do the trap that the main doctor was supposed to do. But there was another person that had to do it. There was a kid in the beginning of the movie, like in the 20-minute mark, that John Kramer was talking to. He told him, like, how do you say pull in Spanish? And the kid actually taught him. Like, John Kramer actually showed him like what he was doing, and then the kid told him in Spanish like what it actually means. He was trying to learn what pull means, and he actually did taught him. The kid said hala, which means pull. And now that the kid was there playing where they were at, the lady got the audacity to actually get the kid playing soccer. He's just an innocent kid playing soccer outside the building where they were, and she actually brought him in to play the game with John Kramer. You gotta be kidding me, man. That was insane. That was the very first time we ever seen an actual child playing these games. Those traps, oh man. John Kramer actually showed him how to play the game. They were forced to actually play it because there was no other way out. And the kid knew right away, because John Kramer told them no hala, which means don't pull. There was like a lever that both of them had. They had to sit, and there was like a pints of blood just coming on their face. Oh, it's just so nasty. And just seeing the kid as well. Ooh. Crazy, man. Just crazy. We never really seen a kid doing these traps. That was something brand new. The main female doctor and also her boyfriend, they were looking for the money. John told them that the money was where they were staying at the room that they were staying at. So they went there, right? And they noticed that the bag was there where the money was, and then the timer played. You guys already know the main theme song. If you have seen the movies, that there's always a theme song playing close to the ending of the movie. That song started playing, and we got to find out that things actually got more interesting. Like, it actually summarized everything that happened throughout the movie. Like, things probably you might have missed, like story plots that actually now made sense at the ending of the movie. They were surrounded by gas, and one of them had to survive. And the thing is, the lady actually killed her boyfriend. And she was able to make it out alive. And John Kramer, the kid, and Amanda, they actually didn't make it out. And that was like basically it for this movie. I didn't really stay right after the after credits because I thought there wasn't gonna be any. I really thought that was gonna be the ending for this movie. But I read that the guy that recommended the doctor to John, he was taken by the cop. Like if you guys have seen Saw 3D, there was a cop that actually joined John Kramer. He actually took him in and got him in one of the traps, supposedly. I didn't see it in theaters because, like I said, I left right after the credits were playing. I didn't stay right after. So yeah, man. I gotta give this movie an 8 out of 10. It was good, man. It was a very interesting take on just focusing on John Kramer himself. And just the traps overall, they were very brutal. And the story didn't make sense. I believe the critics actually gave this movie a proper score. Same thing with the audience. This movie deserves what it got. It's a good one. But if you guys really don't like body horror, then this is not a movie for you. I actually don't recommend this movie. Or maybe even this whole franchise because, yeah, I could say that body horror can be very scary at times. Maybe it's just something that maybe you're not interested in. But yeah, man, it was just so crazy experiencing this movie for the very first time in theaters. Like I said, this was my very first Saw movie seen in theaters. And it was a banger, man. It was a good movie. 8 out of 10. It's a good one, man. And yeah, guys, I think that is it for this podcast. Hey, thank you so much for listening. What do you guys thought about this movie? Have you guys seen it? Are you going to watch it? Well, basically, I just tell you the whole plot, but this movie is worth watching if you really like these type of movies. If you guys are listening to this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or Pandora, be sure to follow it. And also recommend this podcast to a friend or neighbor that actually likes listening to things about horror stuff. Maybe they will enjoy this podcast as much as you do. Anyways, guys, that is it for this podcast. Again, thank you so much for listening. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care and live to the fullest. Bye.